Hi.
Hello, my name is Oriana Sutorius.
And I'm Shelby Lidhar, and we've co-created this website for you. And we kind of wanted to talk about how the collaboration worked in case some of you are considering working on a VR project or any other project with a colleague.
Yeah, so Shelby, maybe just a super quick intro into why we selected one another, or perhaps why I initiated and you agreed to work together. Maybe if it's okay with you, I'll start. So I just going through the introductions of the different students, I saw a number of people with like a plethora of experience and like really cool qualifications or pieces that they were working on. So it was a hard choice, of course, but when I toggled over to Shelby's introduction, I noticed a really lovely picture of her with her daughter, which I think they might have been like out in the woods or going for a hike. And being a working mom myself of two younger daughters, I just, aligned with that right away. Even though she's across the country, I thought like already I could sense a similarity. So it was really nice that was kind of evidence of like just a single visual sort of creating that bridge across kind of two very separate lives. And then, of course, I was reading Shelby's qualifications, and she also has training in the visual arts. And that's the field I work in right now, and I help other teachers in that field. So I just thought that was kind of a natural fit.
Yeah, I was thrilled when I got your invitation, when I went and looked at your profile, because we do have a lot of the same experience and education, but really like you're like one step further than I am. So it's almost, I was like, oh my gosh, she can be my mentor, because I was like, oh, I'm like interested in getting into like being an art teacher, and here you are heading the department. So it was really exciting for me to receive that invitation. And I actually wanted to just touch quickly. You mentioned the photo, and I think when we're making our profiles in a professional setting, there is a lot of thought that goes into how you want to represent yourself with that photo. There can be that push and pull between how professional versus how personal. What do I want to communicate about myself? Just openly out there. So I love that was part of your decision in saying like, this person's maybe somebody I can relate to because we have similar interests, and she shared like a stage of her life. We're both working moms. That obviously has an impact on our time that we have available and our priorities at the moment. So if anyone is looking for a tip, I would say if you're looking to have a relaxed relationship when looking for a partnership, having a more personal photo maybe could be a way to express that. So yeah.
Yeah, super fast sidebar until we move into all of the reflection questions. But I actually think in the 21st century now, and having worked in a professional scope for 15 years, now more than ever, it's not really a suit and jacket sort of picture, although I think it's still good to have that as part of your roster of pictures that you have available of yourself, whether that's on LinkedIn or via this course. But I do think I think we're seeing that more and more. Public figures are thought leaders, people of import, professionals that of importance, professionals that are showing different types of pictures of themselves. And I think now more than ever, it's like it's important to kind of see a human face to the professional face, and that those things are not separate, but they're connected to kind of create like the whole brand that is the person. So yeah, cool.
I love that. It is an integration, and it does have its place. So I shouldn't have just gone out and said like, yeah, use a personal photo. There's definitely different situations. And in this one, it was, a course, and where students were learning together. So it was, I think, an appropriate situation, but
Yeah.
do continue to be thoughtful in how you represent yourself professionally.
Yeah, show the Rolodex of you, right? But anyway, it led to the initial connection, and here we are. So, okay. Just to kind of look through some of the questions, which tools did we select to collaborate each week? Well, there was a couple of different things. We use Zoom primarily. I really appreciate the human connection or the human possibility through just tone of voice. And I actually find sometimes it's easier to work through Zoom, just kind of good old classic conversation versus always the exchange in writing. Having said that, we also did communicate regularly, sometimes a couple times a week, through email. So between the weekly to bi-weekly Zoom meetings and the emails, there was like a pretty regular flow of communication. And in addition to that, Shelby, we also...
Yeah, we had also created a shared Google Drive folder. Luckily, we both already relied heavily on our Google suite of email, so it was easy for us to set that up. And through that, we had our shared documents for our planning, our brainstorming, so we could see each other's work as we went. And we could also comment or ask questions in that document live, which honestly I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
But yeah, and for us, I think the in-person was obviously for me the highlight. I really enjoy working with you, and this worked really well. But having the multimodal ways of contacting each other made it really fluid. You were so flexible. For instance, there was one week my kiddo was sick and I wasn't able to meet face to face, and we were able to rely on email and those shared documents to continue our work.
Yeah, that's a beautiful segue into the next kind of like the sort of second half of those questions, sort of like what were the challenges, what worked out, what might you have done differently? I mean, honestly, I wouldn't have done anything differently from my end. And in terms of challenges, I think I've learned now over the course of this MED work and just working with so many different teams of people in my job that like challenges is inevitable. It's not a thing to avoid. And so it's just about constantly adapting and bending and reconfiguring and I think at first I found that very challenging in other contexts, not this one, but coming into this context, I was like, hey, I've done so much of that kind of like, okay, we're going this way, we're going that way, we're doing this, that I feel that's like the 21st century skill that we all need to have if we're going to do these kind of cross country or across world collaborations, right? So if anything, it seemed like a natural fit and not really like a challenge so much as a reality.
I love how you put that, not something to be avoided, because it can't be.
Yeah.
But it is actually like it makes it's organic, and it can be really nice. So like something that could have been perceived as a challenge is we're in different time zones. We could never actually meet in person, and for scheduling, we're at different parts in our day, but it actually didn't end up to be much of a challenge. We easily worked with aligning time together. It was only a 3-hour time difference. Some time differences are a lot more difficult. But yeah, I also, when we talked about our tools, we talked about our communication tools, but I actually didn't even address what we used for our digital tool product, which was Wix. Yeah. So we used Wix. We decided to make a website. We thought it would be the best way to easily include text and video and other links to things, podcasts, blogs, all of it. Partly because we're learning about integrating tech, so it's a great opportunity for us to practice all of those different pieces. But that might be something that I would say I might do differently next time, only because we found the Wix platform was like very heavy processing on the computer. I have a very old laptop and it moved very, very slowly. So I don't know, it might be worth investigating other tools that maybe have similar features that might run a little bit better for the technology hardware equipment I have myself. But
can I jump onto that?
Sorry?
Oh, sorry, Shelby. I was going to say, once you're done, can I jump onto that idea? Because that's...
Please, I'm done.
So very good point, and I actually appreciate you bringing that forward. I think that's fair. I think maybe we did talk about maybe using a different way to best represent all of our different sources and how we pulled them all together. I do like the look of how we've put it together on Wix, and I'm really proud to show that to all of you guys soon. But once the Wakelet, I think it's called Wakelet, I'm sorry if the pronunciation is not right, but it was sort of all on one page together, and it's sort of multimodal in a kind of poster way. I thought, next time. But in terms of how the content was released in the course, we were already like knee deep in Wix. And so, it's okay. Like to me, I see this as almost kind of a design thinking challenge. So this iteration of what we've done is Wix. And, now we're testing and bringing it out to like, we'll call it like the customer base or like the user, and which will be our colleagues and our professor. But then the next iteration will be like, okay, like maybe we need to move that content to like a more, user and designer friendly platform, and so that it can be smoother, and so that each new kind of version or prototype is like that much better. So
Yeah, streamline it, make it
streamlining.
more user friendly, more
Yeah.
simple, so that the important messages are at the forefront and it doesn't get lost in all the detailed designs and pages and how that kind of overlaps. So maybe we'll have an opportunity to try it together at another time.
Okay, we're already talking future projects. The empire is expanding. So we have said that a few times. Okay, so it jumps down to, I'm just looking at the question sheet, it jumps down to really like, well, what did we learn? I mean, I feel like it's hard to summarize that in such a kind of shortened format. I mean, I feel like I've learned lots of things, but maybe Shelby, if you want to kick us off.
Ooh, okay. I guess like on the collaboration front, I did learn a little bit actually. First of all, the time that you took to go through those profiles and take the initiative to reach out, because I've witnessed like the success that we've had together from you taking that time to do that. That's something that now I would do in the future. I would definitely invest in taking that time to do my research, consider different candidates for that collaboration, and highlighting what I value in a partnership, and finding that right person or people to work with, because it made this process like not just smooth but like fun.
Yeah.
So that was great. The other thing is you talking about the picture, it kind of highlighted for me, like knowing your thought process on it, like, oh, maybe this is something that I can use in how I present myself professionally going forward. And then with the communication, the different tools that we used, I think it solidified for me that this works. So it's something I would carry on in another project. Yeah, I think using the checklists and the shared documents to do the work for me worked great. How about you?
I think I learned from you that like you make a mean checklist, man. Like it's Shelby has mastered the art of the checklist, and I feel I'm a fairly organized person, but I mean it's next level, and I admire it so much because I think my checklists are not that like orderly, and I love that. So that would be one thing that I'm like, okay, note to self, adopt Shelby's checklist. I think to it
That's
actually,
color coder.
yeah.
It was beautiful.
But it's pretty tame compared to the checklist, but I loved it. And I think in addition to it just being organized, it was chronological in terms of like what we might do first, second, and all of that seems so obvious when I say it out loud. But having worked in a number of group projects now, and even just doing so much of my own solo work, I think it's such an energy suck when you struggle to do that naturally, or when you're not really even really sure what should happen in what order. So again, in terms of choosing like your best partner, I think you could even deepen that process a little bit and almost put feelers out there by saying like, hey, what kind of workflow do you value, or what do you feel, not that you want to feel like you're over interviewing somebody, but just like what are kind of your strengths and what might you be able to bring to the group. Of course you want to be mindful not to make someone feel like they're being put on the spot, but it was just a happy surprise to see that Shelby complimented the group, as in myself, in so many ways, because she brought the type of expertise that I was like, I could learn from that, note to self, adopt some of those habits. So just really sequenced workflows. So yeah, so Shelby, thank you.
Thank you, because you also came with your set of skills and your expertise on the topic, because for me, it was all new. So in terms of like content learning, I learned a lot because I really didn't know anything about VR technology, the difference between VR, AR, 360, let alone how to integrate it into a lesson. And you had already done a lot of that research, learned about it, and like you've done this, you've integrated it. I think we're going to do a second blog post where we have a quick conversation to talk about what that experience was like for you, and how to get started, because I know going forward now I want to do this in my classroom, and I hope that this will inspire other people to do the same, and even to contribute to our library bank. We can all work together. This co-creation doesn't have to be just the two of us. We would love this to be a larger community. You are invited. Please participate.
Yeah, actually, final thing for me, that's the second thing that I feel like Shelby brought to the group in terms of what I learned and absorbed, was just this concept of like an open source. Like we discussed it in the course, and there was readings on that and the benefits to it, and it had come up in my own work. But I like maybe think that I might be from an era still where there was less of that happening when I went through my BEd, and now that like Shelby has brought that forward, like as if that was kind of the most normalized thing and the thing to do, I thought like she's right, it's true. And what a great way to build the Wix site, so that it's more open that way. So I feel like refreshed by that idea as a classroom teacher.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess this course, talking about new digital literacies, and how literacy is so socially based. It sounds silly, but it was almost like a new concept to me, because like literacy even to me was like reading and writing. But when we start looking at how multimodal communication is now, I mean, it's apparent that things have changed. So I think it's cool that we were able to practice that in the design of our website, as well as then in the lesson planning that we're sharing with other educators, and hopefully that they will be sharing with us.
Yeah. So Shelby, I think if there's nothing else, then this is our reflection. Thank you for listening. And we hope you enjoy our work, and we look forward to your feedback.
Yes, thank you so much. See you
Thank
soon.
you. Bye.